Hi Cornerstone kids, I am happy to see you back again. I just imagine your faces on the other side, and thank you for those of you that send me pictures of your craft. I love that, and it makes me know that you're listening and watching, and so that makes it easier for me to teach and helps me know what to say. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad that you're learning about Genesis, because now you know if somebody says, where's that story about Noah? You're like, it's in Genesis, I know. Or if somebody says, where does it tell about that man, Abraham? You're like, Genesis, I know. So we have all of these stories that happen in one book of the Bible, the book of Genesis. And today we are going to learn something else that happens towards the end of Genesis, because we're almost at the end of the book now. We have 2 more weeks, this week and next week. And I was wondering, what is your favorite story so far in Genesis? Can you tell me? Which one is your favorite so far? I definitely heard some people that like Noah and his ark, right? Good. And some other people that really like the creation story about how God created something every day. Both of those are very kind of fun stories, and also true, perfectly true. Nothing is made up. Nothing is a story. It's actually what happened. And we're going to start today. I would like you to go run and grab something in your house that is your favorite color. Are you ready? Go get it. I'm going to count to 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Do you have your item? I'm going to show you, I can't see yours, but I'm going to show you some of mine. I actually got more than one, so that hopefully you can figure out the color, because my favorite color has a lot of different shades of it. Do you see all of these different things? Look at all these different shades of, did anyone guess what my favorite color was? Blue. You're right. I like most shades of blue. You see I have on a blue sweater, which is a dark blue. I also love this aqua color. I really like that. This is one of my favorite shades of blue. I don't know if you could see that. It sparkles, but it is like a perfect color of blue, I think. So that is my favorite color, and I hope you grabbed something that was your favorite color, because this story today has something to do with colors and also favorites. Okay? Now, if you remember last week, I added the pot right here, and even if you weren't with us last week, there was a man named Joseph. Actually, he was kind of like a teenager or a young adult, and he was not his dad's favorite, and so he tricked his dad to get the inheritance, the money and the animals and the property that his dad had when he died. And so he tricked his dad in order to get what the favored son was going to get. And today we're kind of talking about another trick that happened in the Bible. And Jacob was grown up, and he was a man, and he actually had 12 sons. And his number 11 son was his favorite. So he had 12 sons, but number 11 was his favorite. Now you would think he might have learned that does not feel good, right? He was the one that was not the favorite. So why didn't he decide to treat his sons equally and to love them all the same, or at least keep his favorite quiet? But no, that's not what happened in this story. Jacob is now the dad of these 12 sons, and every son knows that number 11 is his favorite. And today we're talking about number 11. His name is Joseph, and you might have heard about him before. And I'm going to share something about him. We are still in Genesis, the very first book of the Bible. We're at the big 37, and we're going to start at the 1, so right after the big 37. Jacob lived in the land of Canaan. It's the land where his father had stayed, and here's the story of Jacob. Joseph was a young man. He was 17 years old, so this is Jacob's son. He was taking care of the flocks with some of his brothers. And Joseph brought their father a bad report about them. And Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other sons. Joseph had been born to him when he was old, and Jacob made him a beautiful robe. Joseph's brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, so they hated Joseph. They couldn't even speak one kind word to him. So Jacob was sort of like, he kind of like tattletaled on his brothers. He went and told his dad they weren't doing the right thing, and they already didn't like him. Their dad gave him a beautiful coat with many colors on it, which like in Bible times, that was like a very special gift. And so there was no hiding that Joseph was Jacob's favorite son. And so the 11 other brothers, of course, were feeling jealous, just like you and me would feel if our parents loved our brother or a sister more than us, gave them presents, didn't give us presents. What if you woke up on Christmas morning and there was only presents for your brother? Or there was only presents for your sister? And what about you? You didn't get anything because you weren't the favorite. That would definitely make you jealous, wouldn't it? And so Joseph's brothers were jealous. And I want to share a little bit from this Bible storybook. And there's something that came next that made the problem even worse. Joseph said, "Brothers, listen to my dreams. In the field, my bundle of grain stood up straight. Your bundles bowed down to mine. Then I dreamed the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowed down to me." So Joseph had these dreams, which represented his brothers bowing down. When you bow down to someone, you say that they're greater than you. So of course his brothers stop with the dreams. They said, "Do you think we will bow down to you?" said Joseph's brothers. They were angry. And one day Joseph went to see his brothers in the field. And the brothers were like, "Here comes that dreamer. Let's get rid of him." They're like, "Here he comes, the one that dreams about how we're going to bow down." Joseph's brothers tore off his wonderful coat. They threw him into a pit. And I brought a picture so that you could see. This is kind of like, this is called a cistern in the Bible. You'll see that word cistern if you read this story there. And it's like a well, it's storage for water. And so they put Joseph down in the bottom of one of these cisterns. They're like, he can't get out of there. So that takes care of that dreamer. Okay. So they put him down there. And then they said, "Oh, look, there's a group of traders coming by, like traveling to Egypt. Let's sell Joseph to them." And so the traders took Joseph, and like he was going to be sold in Egypt, because now they could he could become a slave for people in Egypt. So his brothers were like, yeah, go. Take him far away, please. But now they're like, what are we going to tell Dad? And so then the brothers dipped Joseph's coat in goat's blood, and they took the coat to their father, "Is this Joseph's coat?" they asked. "It is," cried Jacob, his father. This is his favorite son. And now all he has is his coat covered with blood. "A wild animal must have killed him." And Jacob cried for many days. No one could comfort him. And Joseph now was taken and he became a slave in Egypt. So the traders took him and sold him in Egypt. And they actually sold him to a guy named Potiphar, and he was the assistant to the Pharaoh of Egypt. So he was kind of in a royal house, but he was a slave. So he did have a hard life, right? He's not getting paid or anything. So his brothers first sold their brother because of their jealousy, and they also lied to their father. And they saw their father crying for many days, and they just kept telling him, yeah, a wild animal must have got him, when the truth was they were responsible for him being gone. Now we're going to find out next week what happens at the second part of Joseph's story, because just like with Jacob, even though a bad thing happened in his life, God's plan wasn't over. God didn't say, okay, now you'll just die a slave, Joseph. Sorry about your bad brothers. No, God is still with him, and God will still direct his life. And that's what you're going to find out next week with Joseph, because God did take care of Joseph, and he did actually make his life great. And we'll talk about that. I don't want to give away all the details. But this story that we read today, if you want to read the whole story, like this Bible that I read you tells part of the story, not all the details, but the important ones it tells. But if you have your regular Bible, your complete Bible, you can read chapter 37. Okay, so the big 37 will tell the story that we talked about today, about Joseph's dreams and his coat and how his brothers were jealous. I hope that you remember that the way that God's story, it doesn't end when you do something bad or somebody does something bad to you. God still is like holding you and still directing where you go. And so I want to pray that God would direct you and help you to not get like discouraged and frustrated when things go wrong, because he still has a good plan, and he's still going to make it work for you. So fold your hands so that they're not playing with anything, and close your eyes so no one distracts you. Jesus, thank you for the story about Joseph, so that we can know that you won't leave us alone either. Even when bad things happen because of other people, or when we do bad things like Jacob did, you still don't leave us, and you still have good plans for our life. And I just pray that you would help these kids this week to not get discouraged when something bad happens or when somebody treats them bad. I pray that they would go to you, God, and that you would just give them hope and confidence to keep going and to do the right things for you. We love you. We thank you that you love us no matter what. Amen. All right, now you might have guessed that today, obviously, we have to make a colorful coat, right? Because the coat that that Jacob gave Joseph, his dad gave him, it helps us remember, like, of course the brothers were jealous, right? They didn't get a coat. And it helps us remember that because of their jealousy, they treated Joseph badly. So I just took a regular piece of white paper and folded it in half, because it just helps make your coat a little more symmetrical. You don't have to, of course. And I'll show you what I did. I'll do it in Sharpie. So that's like the neck and one of the sleeves of the coat. And then I drew sort of like Do you see like this V I drew there? And I'll make the bottom of the coat, and then I'll show it to you. So I just drew half of the coat. Okay, draw half of Joseph's coat. If you use a bigger paper or smaller paper, that's fine. I'm doing it this size because I'm going to put it in our book. And if you're making your Genesis book, you might want to make it a little smaller like mine too. Okay, then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut on those lines until you have half the coat. Okay, and just like magic, when you open it up, you're going to have the full coat. Okay. Now, take your glue and you want to cover the coat with glue, and you're going to, unless, actually pause for a second. If you want to use paper to make your colorful coat, you need glue. If you're going to use markers or crayons, then you don't need the glue, okay? So I'll show you the paper version. So I'm gonna put glue on mine. And if you don't have colored paper or you don't have glue, then just use crayons or markers to add the color to your coat. Okay, so I'm going to put glue all over this coat of Joseph's, and I'm going to put some paper strips on here. Now, I'll show you my strategy, and you might want to use it. I don't care right now if the strips are too long for my coat or if they're just right. I don't care, and I'll show you why in just a second. But I'm going to put, gonna cover my coat with strips of paper. Some of my strips are too long, but that's okay. I'll show you why. Almost done. One little more glue for mine. Okay, so you can see that I put all my strips on, but it kind of looks like, I mean, you can't even see the jacket, but I found that it was just easier than to take your scissors, and if you look at the back of my jacket, you can see where it's too long. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'll just trim off the extra, okay? So right here under the arm, I want it to be like a V, so I'm going to trim off the extras right there. And then of course on the top, if you look at the back, you can see the outline of your coat really well. And just trim off the trash, okay? So then your like strips of paper are the perfect size for your coat, okay? And that is going to be Joseph's coat that was very special for Joseph, but made his brothers feel very jealous and not cared about probably. Now, if you're making your Genesis book, I'll show you what to do. So we have, you have one page for each story, or maybe you just have a few of the pages. If you miss some lessons, that's fine. You have Abraham, Isaac, and Rebecca. Last week we did Jacob, and this week we have Joseph and his brothers. So at the bottom I wrote Joseph and his brothers. It's in the Bible in Genesis 37. I wrote Jeremiah 26:14 because this is the verse that I wanted to remember. As for me, I am in your hands. Whose hands are we in? God's. We're in God's hands, and we say, God, I am in your hands. Do with me whatever you think is good and right. And Joseph, he had what God thought was good and right for his life was kind of hard, but he did what God wanted him to do. And so I put Joseph's coat there in the middle, and so that we can remember this story about Joseph and his dreams and what his brothers did to him. And next week we'll get the conclusion of Joseph's story. All right, so I'll see you next week, Cornerstone kids.